Does teaching, advertising, how to hack social media accounts really help students land a job? This introductory slide addresses a critical crossroads in modern technical education, where training institutes often use provocative hacking headlines to attract interest. We explore the stark contrast between learning illegal shortcuts and mastering the ethical, high-demand security skills that industry leaders actually value. We examine why focusing on unauthorized access, labeled as risky, illegal, and unethical, creates a no jobs, no future scenario for aspiring professionals. It highlights how shifting to security skills transforms a student from a security risk into a highly employable asset. To wrap up our discussion on career growth in cybersecurity, we need to understand the shift from marketing hype to professional reality. Here is how you bridge the gap from risk to reward. Risky ad claim. Account takeover language creates legal, ethical, and hiring risk. When institutes focus on account hacking, they're teaching behaviors that are often indistinguishable from cybercrime. This creates a massive red flag for HR departments. An employer won't give you the keys to the kingdom if your primary training is centered on unauthorized access. You are essentially advertising yourself as a liability rather than a protector. Skill gap. Students need evidence of defensive ability, not slogans. There is a massive difference between knowing a hacking tool and understanding the underlying network architecture. To close the skill gap, you must move beyond slogans and demonstrate that you understand how a switch manages local traffic or how a firewall filters malicious packets. Professional competence is proven through technical understanding, not flashy titles. Job value. Ethical labs, reports, and portfolio can support entry-level jobs. The real value you bring to a company is documented proof of your ethics and technical skill. By completing ethical labs, like setting up a VLAN to secure a department or configuring a gateway, and documenting your process in a professional report, you create a portfolio. This paper trail proves you can do the work legally and effectively, which is exactly what secures entry-level roles and long-term career growth. The real question, not can students break accounts, but can they prove useful security skills? In the cybersecurity industry, anyone can learn a singular trick to exploit a vulnerability, but true professionals are defined by their ability to solve systemic problems. Employers aren't looking for someone who can bypass a password. They are looking for experts who can architect a resilient network, implement robust firewall rules, and protect sensitive data. The true measure of a student's value lies in their understanding of how to defend a complex infrastructure, like the apartment complex we've been studying, rather than just breaking a single door or lock. Shifting the focus from exploitation to defense is the key to professional longevity. While breaking in might grab headlines, building up is what secures a paycheck. To be successful in a job interview, you must be able to demonstrate a mastery of the core networking principles: routing, switching, and protocol security. By proving you have the skills to maintain a high-performing and secure environment, you position yourself as a trusted asset that an organization can rely on to keep its business running safely. To bridge the gap between initial interest and a long-term career, every student must navigate a 4-stage journey. The key to success is ensuring that at every step, the workus must convert into legal, practical, documented evidence. 1. Advertisement. Attention training institutes often use flashy marketing to grab your attention, such as how to hack social media. While this might be the hook that gets you interested, it is just a starting point. To move forward, this curiosity must be redirected toward legal frameworks and the practical, documented study of cybersecurity. 2. Training. Practice. Once you have started your journey, the focus shifts to hands-on practice. This is where you learn the how-to of networking and security. However, simple lab exercises aren't enough. Your practice must be grounded in real-world scenarios and documented meticulously to prove that you understand the ethical and legal boundaries of the field. 3. Proof. Portfolio. In the professional world, saying you have a skill isn't enough. You need proof. A professional portfolio serves as a collection of your work, showing documented evidence of your ability to configure routers, manage firewalls, or secure systems. This portfolio is the physical bridge between your classroom learning and the corporate world. 4. Job. Trust. The ultimate goal of this journey is the job, which is built entirely on trust. An employer is entrusting you with their most sensitive data and infrastructure. By showing a history of legal, practical, and documented evidence, you prove that you are not just a hacker, but a trusted professional who is ready to protect the organization's assets. Why the phrase sounds dangerous? How to hack social media accounts is a phrase that immediately signals malicious intent and carries a heavy ethical stigma. Social media security represents the professional, legal, and defensive mindset that employers are actually looking for. The wording itself can become a hiring red flag, potentially blacklisting a student from the industry before they even begin. Choosing the path of protection over exploitation is the only way to build a trusted, long-term career in cybersecurity. In the professional world, the language you use to describe your training can either open doors or lock them permanently. This slide explores why the phrase sounds dangerous and how a simple change in wording can redefine your career. The language of professionalism. Employer hears unauthorized access, account theft, privacy violation, brand risk. When a recruiter sees hacking on a resume, they don't see a skilled technician. They see a potential liability. To them, those words imply a person who might bypass internal controls, compromise customer data, or create a massive legal scandal for the company. This creates an immediate barrier of distrust that is almost impossible to overcome. Student may mean account security, phishing defense, OSINT, recovery, MFA, awareness. Most students are actually interested in the mechanics of how to keep people safe. They want to understand how multi-factor authentication, MFA, works or how to use open source intelligence, OSINT, for ethical research. However, by using hacker slang, they hide their true defensive value behind a mask of perceived criminality. Correct framing, ethical social media security, privacy protection, and incident response. This is the language of a professional. By shifting to correct framing, you describe the exact same technical skills but present them as a service to the organization. You aren't someone who breaks in. You are an expert in incident response who knows how to recover stolen accounts and protect user privacy through rigorous security standards. The critical takeaway. Hiring lesson. Words matter. A course that sounds like teach students to hack people damages trust before skills are even evaluated. If you want to be taken seriously by the industry's top employers, you must abandon provocative headlines. Instead of promoting a hacking course, aim for a better title. Social media security, privacy protection, and ethical investigation. This framing proves you understand the weight of your responsibility and are ready to be a trusted guardian of digital infrastructure. Ethical boundary, the wall recruiters care about, represents the definitive line between cybercrime and a professional career. On the wrong side of the wall are unauthorized targeting, identity theft, and malicious exploitation, which act as permanent red flags for any employer. By staying on the professional side, you focus on documented labs, ethical investigations, and legal compliance, which are the only skills that build true hiring value. The ethical boundary is more than just a concept. It is the definitive wall that determines your employability in the tech industry. Recruiters are constantly scanning for signals that tell them whether you are a high-risk liability or a high-value asset. Defining professional maturity. Not job ready. Targeting real accounts without permission. Engaging in any activity against live systems without explicit, written authorization is illegal and instantly disqualifies you from professional roles. Credential stealing or bypassing access. Focusing on the how-to of theft demonstrates a criminal mindset rather than a security mindset. Showing live account hack tricks. While flashy, these tricks show a lack of depth. Employers aren't looking for magicians, they are looking for engineers, ignoring law, consent, and privacy. A disregard for the legal framework and the rights of users proves you cannot be trusted with an organization's sensitive data. Job ready? Controlled labs with written scope. Professionals work within rules of engagement. Performing technical tasks in a sandboxed environment with a defined goal shows you respect operational boundaries. Defensive analysis and reporting. The ability to find a vulnerability is only half the job. The real value lies in your ability to analyze the risk and write a professional report on how to fix it. MFA, phishing, OSINT recovery workflow. Mastering these specific defensive pillars proves you have the technical range to protect a modern business from the most common global threats. Clear ethics and responsible disclosure, demonstrating that you know how to report a bug through the proper channels without exploiting it, is the ultimate sign of a trustworthy expert. The professional difference. Being job ready means proving you can build a secure apartment complex rather than just showing people how to pick the locks on the front doors. By aligning your training with the job-ready list, you are not just learning technical skills, you are building the professional reputation required to land and keep a high-level cybersecurity role. What actually gets students interviews is the transition from a shadowy hacker persona to a transparent, professional security expert. Jobs reward proof, not dark-flavored marketing smoke, meaning flashy tricks are instantly ignored in favor of technical substance. By presenting documented labs, clear reports, and defensive certifications, you provide the evidence recruiters need to verify your skills. Ultimately, the interview is won when you demonstrate you are a trusted asset capable of protecting an organization's most valuable data. To truly succeed in the hiring process, you must move beyond flashy headlines and focus on the technical domains that industry leaders actually value. This is what actually gets students interviews: the core technical domains. SOC, Security Operations Center. This is the front line of defense. You must demonstrate proficiency in log reading, managing security alerts, and performing initial triage to determine the severity of a digital threat. Web, mastering web security involves understanding the OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities, securing web forms against injection, and managing user sessions to prevent hijacking. IAM, Identity and Access Management, one of the most critical security pillars. This includes implementing MFA, multi-factor authentication, controlling user access levels, and establishing secure account recovery workflows. OSINT, Open Source Intelligence. This involves the ethical collection of public data to perform risk mapping, helping organizations understand their external attack surface without ever touching a private system. The professional foundation. Ethics. This is the non-negotiable wall. Every technical action must stay within a defined scope, obtain explicit permission, and strictly respect user privacy. Without these, technical skill is a liability. Report. Technical ability is invisible without a high-quality report. This requires clear writing and the presentation of verifiable evidence so that management can make informed security decisions. This slide presents a skill translation map, which is essentially a guide to help students convert informal or risky-sounding skills into professional, job-ready cybersecurity competencies. At the top, the key idea is clearly stated. Turn risky wording into employable cybersecurity outcomes. This means the same knowledge can either harm your career or help it, depending on how you present it. Understanding the table structure. The table is divided into 3 columns. 1, bad, vague claim. 2, professional skill. 3, job direction. Think of this as a transformation pipeline. What you say, how it should be framed, where it can take you professionally. Row-by-row explanation. Style 1, hack social media, phishing defense awareness, SOC security awareness. Many students casually say they know how to hack accounts, but this sounds illegal and risky. Instead, framing it as phishing defense and awareness shows you understand how attacks happen and how to prevent them. This aligns with roles in SOC Operations Center or security awareness teams, where defending users is the priority. Account recovery. Identity verification workflow, IAM help desk security. Account recovery sounds basic and informal. When reframed as identity verification workflow, it becomes a structured, secure process. This directly connects to IAM, identity and access management roles, where managing user identities securely is critical. 3. Profile investigation, OSINT with privacy limits. Threat intel DFIR. Profile investigation can sound intrusive or unethical, but when expressed as OSINT, open source intelligence with privacy boundaries, it becomes a respected cybersecurity skill. This leads to roles in threat intelligence or DFIR, digital forensics and incident response. 4. Fake login demo. Web Authentication Security Lab, AppSec intern. A fake login demo may look like a trick or gimmick. However, calling it a web authentication security lab shows you understand vulnerabilities and how to fix them. This is exactly what companies look for in an application security AppSec intern. 5. Incident after compromise, evidence plus timeline report. SOC DFIR assistant. Simply describing an incident is reactive and unstructured, but creating an evidence-based timeline report shows analytical thinking and documentation skills. This is essential for SOC analysts and DFIR assistants who investigate and report security incidents professionally. Key takeaway. This table teaches one powerful lesson. Your skills don't change. Your framing does. If you present your knowledge with vague or risky wording, it creates doubt. If you present the same knowledge in structured, ethical, and professional terms, it builds trust. And in cybersecurity, trust is what gets you hired. The course quality detector scans every training program like a neon bug zapper for weak promises and fake hype. Green flags show clear learning outcomes, practical labs, strong structure, and real student value. Red flags expose vague claims, outdated content, no hands-on practice, and certificate-only traps. In simple words, good courses survive the zap, bad courses get cooked. When choosing where to invest your time and money, the course quality detector helps you distinguish between marketing smoke and professional training. Not all cybersecurity courses are created equal. Some can actually damage your career before it even begins. Red flags. Avoid these hacker traps. If a course exhibits these characteristics, it is likely a liability rather than an education. Promises hack any account. In the real world, security is a cat and mouse game. There is no magic button. Such claims are purely for clicks. Uses real victims or real platforms as targets. Training on live public systems without permission is illegal. Professional training always uses isolated labs. No written authorization process. Legitimate security work is defined by the scope of work. If a course ignores this, it's teaching you how to be a criminal, not a consultant. No reporting format or defensive outcome. If you aren't learning how to document what you found and how to fix it, you aren't learning a job skill. Markets illegality as a cool skill. Professionalism isn't about being edgy. It's about being reliable. Framing cybercrime as a hobby is a major warning sign. Green flags. Signs of professional training. Look for these markers to ensure your training will actually lead to a job interview. Lab-only training with scope. This proves the course respects legal boundaries and provides a safe, controlled environment for experimentation. Teaches privacy, law, and consent. A great course understands that ethics are just as important as technical ability. This is what makes you job-ready. Builds reports, dashboards, and remediation. This is the proof phase. Learning to create professional deliverables is exactly what fills your portfolio. Maps modules to job roles. High-quality training isn't random. It is designed to prepare you for specific industry roles, like a SOC analyst, IAM engineer, or pen tester. Creates portfolio-safe deliverables. Every lab you finish should result in a document you can proudly show a recruiter without fearing legal repercussions. The professional bottom line. A course that focuses on the green flags is an investment in your future. It moves you past the flashy headlines and builds the skill plus ethics, communication, foundation needed to secure a trusted role in the cybersecurity industry. This training becomes valuable when the focus shifts from breaking systems to protecting them. When framed correctly, the same knowledge becomes career-ready, responsible, and trusted. When you move past the hacker headlines, you discover exactly where this training can help. The core technical concepts are highly valuable, but only when they are reframed as ethical, defensive, and evidence-based. Here are the 5 primary career paths where this knowledge translates into a paycheck. 1. SOC analyst. By understanding how attacks happen, you become an expert in alert triage. You learn to filter through the noise to find real threats and generate phishing reports that help the organization block malicious actors before they gain a foothold. 2. IAM associate. Instead of recovering accounts, you focus on MFA plus recovery architectures. You manage how users enter the system and perform access reviews to ensure that every resident in the digital apartment complex has exactly the permissions they need, and no more. 3. DFIR assistant in digital forensics and incident response. The focus is on the aftermath. You use your technical skills to build an evidence timeline and record detailed incident notes. This documentation is the legal bedrock used to understand exactly how a breach occurred. Number 4, AppSec intern. Application security is where you study auth flaws and session security. By understanding how a fake login works, you can help developers build better front doors for their software, preventing real-world exploits from ever succeeding. Number 5, awareness trainer. Your knowledge of social engineering makes you a perfect awareness trainer. You use policy demos to teach employees safe behavior, turning the entire workforce into a human firewall that protects the company's assets. The final hiring lesson. The job link is not, I can hack accounts. It is, I can secure identity, detect abuse, and explain risk clearly. Employers aren't looking for someone to break their systems. They are looking for professionals who can build, defend, and document. When you reframe your skills this way, you move from the red flag pile straight to the interview list. Portfolio proof beats promises, highlights that a student needs visible, ethical evidence to stand out in a competitive job market. Making vague claims like, I learned how to hack, results in no proof, no evidence, and no trust, serving as a major deterrent for recruiters. By showcasing lab reports, GitHub projects, and clear documentation, you transform abstract knowledge into verifiable professional achievements. Ultimately, proof builds trust and trust gets interviews, turning your documented skills into the foundation of a successful cybersecurity career. To transition from a hack-first mindset to a job-first reality, a student needs visible evidence recruiters can trust. Portfolio proof beats promises by replacing vague claims with concrete professional deliverables. Here is how you build that evidence. 1. Lab report. This is the cornerstone of your portfolio. A professional lab report doesn't just show you did it. It outlines the objective, what you were testing, the scope, the legal boundaries, the evidence, screenshots or logs, and the fix, the defensive remediation. This proves you can communicate technical risk to a business. 2. GitHub notes. Your GitHub should be a repository of sanitized scripts and checklists. Instead of raw exploit code, show your ability to write defensive automation or standard operating procedures. Sanitization is key. It proves you know how to handle sensitive data responsibly and ethically. Number 3, mini case study. A fake breach timeline plus response is an excellent way to demonstrate big picture thinking. By walking through a simulated incident, how it was detected, how it was contained, and what the recovery steps were, you prove you have the analytical mind required for incident response, DFIR roles. Number 4, demo video. A short screen recording can be a powerful proof of skill, provided it is a lab-only walkthrough with no real target. By narrating your technical process in a controlled environment, you showcase your communication skills and technical fluency simultaneously. 5, resume line. Finally, all this proof allows you to write a high-impact resume line. Instead of saying, I know Wireshark, you can write, analyze network traffic to identify unauthorized access attempts, reducing detection time by 20% using automated triage metrics. This focuses on the defensive outcome, tools, and metrics that recruiters actually look for. The SafeLab pipeline provides a structured framework for how an institution should teach technical skills without creating legal chaos goblins. By starting with a clear plan to define learning goals and a prepare phase using isolated lab environments, students are kept within safe, authorized boundaries. The journey continues through instructor-guided hands-on work and assessments that focus on providing feedback rather than just demonstrating exploits. Finally, students must document their work through logs and comply with legal standards, ensuring every technical action is secure, ethical, and compliant. The SafeLab pipeline is a rigorous professional methodology designed to ensure that technical training results in employability rather than legal liability. It defines how an institution should teach without creating legal chaos goblins by following a 6-step journey toward technical mastery. The 6 pillars of professional training. Simulated accounts. The foundation of any ethical lab is the use of fake test identities. Training must never involve real user accounts or production platforms. By creating a synthetic environment, students can experiment freely without risking privacy violations. Lab platform. Professional education utilizes dedicated platforms like DVWA, Damn Vulnerable Web Application, WebGoat, or private CTF, Capture the Flag, environments. These are vulnerable by design, providing a legal playground where the only thing at risk is the lab itself. Attack concept. Instead of just hacking, the focus is on explaining risks safely. Students learn the theory behind an exploit to understand its impact on a business, moving from the how to the much more important why. Detection. A critical shift in professional training is learning to identify the footprints of an attack. Students study logs and indicators of compromise, IOCs, to see what a malicious action looks like from the perspective of a defender. Defense. The pipeline prioritizes the implementation of MFA, policies, and recovery workflows. The goal is to build a resilient apartment complex that can withstand attacks, turning the student into a protector of infrastructure. Report. The final step is the creation of a professional deliverable. Students compile evidence and recommendations into a structured document. This is the artifact that proves to a recruiter that the student can communicate complex technical risks to stakeholders. The gold standard outcome. Best outcome. Students learn the threat, build the defense, and produce a recruiter-friendly artifact. When an institution follows this pipeline, they aren't just teaching cool tricks. They are guiding students through a complete life cycle of identification, detection, and remediation. This process transforms a student from a potential security risk into a highly desirable, job-ready professional. Certificate Reality Check highlights that while certifications are valuable, they are not a job teleportation scroll. They are helpful because they show you have put in the effort to learn, but they do not magically guarantee an instant job. A certificate is merely a ticket to the conversation. You still need to prove your practical value through a solid portfolio and ethical mindset. Ultimately, landing a role requires combining your credentials with visible evidence that a recruiter can actually trust. The Certificate Reality Check is a crucial reminder for anyone entering the cybersecurity field. Certificates help, but they are not a job teleportation scroll. To truly stand out to recruiters, you must understand the difference in the signal you are sending to the market. Analyzing the hiring signal. Certificate only. Low hiring signal without practical proof. A certificate proves you can pass a test, but it doesn't prove you can handle a real-world crisis. In a high-stakes environment, an employer has no way of knowing if you can actually configure a firewall or respond to a breach based solely on a piece of paper. This leaves you in a trust gap where your skills are unverified. Much stronger signal with reports and labs. When you combine a credential with a portfolio, you provide the proof that recruiters crave. By showing the labs you've completed and the technical reports you've written, you demonstrate practical competency, ethical alignment, and professional communication skills. The final lesson for students. Landing a job is about reducing the risk for the employer. A candidate with a certificate says, I have the knowledge, but a candidate with a portfolio says, I have the skill, and here is the evidence. The combination of a certificate and a portfolio is the ultimate green flag that moves your resume from the bottom of the pile to the top of the interview list. The Institution Responsibility Checklist emphasizes that a course should proactively protect students, not accidentally manufacture red flags that damage their careers. By prioritizing ethical and legal learning and evidence-based content, institutions ensure that the skills being taught result in a real-world positive impact. Providing clear guidance and support is essential for shifting students away from risky behaviors and toward the defensive certifications and portfolios that recruiters trust. The Institution Responsibility Checklist defines the ethical and operational standards that any cybersecurity training program must uphold. Its purpose is to ensure that students gain high-value technical skills while remaining on the right side of the law. The Professional Training Framework. Written scope. Every technical activity must have clearly defined permitted boundaries. In the professional world, working outside of a scope of work is considered unauthorized access. Training students to respect these boundaries prepares them for the rigors of corporate compliance. Lab targets. Legitimate training uses isolated environments with no real people and no real accounts. By using vulnerable by design targets, institutions provide a safe sandbox where students can learn without causing external harm or violating privacy laws. Legal ethics module. Technical skill without a foundation in consent, privacy, and local law basics is a liability. Students must understand the legal frameworks, like the Computer Misuse Act or GDPR, that govern their future professional actions. Defensive output. The goal of learning an attack is to understand the defense. Every lab should conclude with mitigation, teaching students how to patch the vulnerability or configure security controls to prevent the exploit from happening again. Assessment. Mastery is proven through report writing, VIRA, oral exams, and scenario-based testing. This mirrors the daily life of a security professional, where the ability to explain a risk is just as important as finding it. Abuse controls. Institutions must enforce strict policies against credential theft or platform harm. Training should never be used to facilitate malicious activity. A professional program focuses on building protectors, not exploiters. The final takeaway. When an institution follows this checklist, they are creating a safe harbor for learning. They shift the narrative from teaching people how to hack to developing ethical security engineers. The student decision framework serves as a final filter to help you evaluate potential training programs before investing your time or money. By asking critical questions, is it legal? Is it practical? Will I get proof? You can distinguish between career-building education and risky hacker marketing. If the answer is yes to these foundational pillars, the course is good to go and will likely provide the documented evidence and employer recognition needed for a job. However, if the answer is no to any of these points, you should rethink your choice to avoid manufacturing red flags that could permanently damage your professional reputation. Before you commit to any cybersecurity course, you need to conduct your own due diligence. The student decision framework is designed to protect your investment and your future reputation. Use these 5 questions as a checklist to separate professional education from dangerous marketing. Your pre-enrollment checklist. Do they teach only in controlled labs? A professional institution never encourages or requires students to use real-world platforms or live accounts as targets. If they aren't using sandboxed environments like DVWA or custom-built lab servers, they are teaching you to break the law. Do they explain authorization and law? Technical skill is useless and dangerous without a foundation in ethics. A quality course will dedicate time to explaining consent, privacy laws, and written authorization. Knowing how to operate within the rules of engagement is a prerequisite for any corporate security role. Will I create portfolio reports? You shouldn't just finish a course with a certificate. You should finish with a portfolio. Ask if you will be taught to write professional lab reports, executive summaries, and remediation plans. This documentation is the proof that actually gets you hired. Are tools linked to real job roles? Knowing how to use a tool like Wireshark or Nmap is fine, but a professional course will explain how those tools are used daily by a SOC analyst, pen tester, or IAM engineer. If the tools aren't mapped to specific job functions, the training lacks industry relevance. Is the marketing ethical and accurate? Beware of get-rich-quick promises or headlines like hack any account in 5 minutes. Ethical institutions use accurate, defensive language. If the marketing focuses on dark-flavored thrills rather than career-building skills, it's a red flag. The decision rule. If the answer to 1 or 2 is no, skip it. That is not career training. That is liability cosplay. By following this framework, you ensure that your cybersecurity journey begins on solid ethical ground. Your goal isn't just to learn hacking. It's to become a trusted, employable professional who knows how to protect global infrastructure legally and effectively. The final verdict answers the fundamental question: does it really help students land jobs? The answer is yes, if the training focuses on practical skills, real projects, and portfolio proof that demonstrate your technical value to an employer. However, the answer is no if it relies on just certificates, overhyped promises, and no real-world application, as these do not build the trust required to get hired. We conclude with the final verdict on whether training that touches on social media exploitation actually translates into a career. The answer depends entirely on the methodology and the framing of the course. The employability spectrum, no, teaches or markets unauthorized account hacking. Any course that promotes bypassing security controls on live accounts is teaching illegal behavior. This framing creates a massive hiring risk, as no reputable company will trust an individual whose primary skill is unauthorized access. This path leads to a professional dead end. Maybe, if it gives beginner exposure, but no portfolio. Introductory knowledge is a start, but theoretical understanding alone rarely secures an interview. Without concrete evidence of your work, you remain just another candidate with a claim but no proof. You may understand the concepts, but you haven't yet proven you can apply them in a business environment. Yes, if it is ethical social media security with labs, reports, and job mapping. This is the gold standard. When the training focuses on ethical security, it provides the technical depth recruiters value. By producing labs and reports, you create a portfolio that serves as a high hiring signal. When these modules are mapped to real-world job roles, you transition from a student to a professional asset. The bottom line? The skill is employable. The hack accounts framing is the problem. Cybersecurity is one of the most high-demand fields in the world, but it is built on a foundation of trust. By choosing the right training and documenting your journey ethically, you turn your technical curiosity into a powerful, lifelong career. The 90-day Career Safe Roadmap provides a clean path from curiosity to employability, moving students away from risky shortcuts toward professional mastery. By following this step-by-step progression through foundations, defensive labs, and portfolio building, you replace vague, hacking promises with verifiable technical evidence. This journey ensures that every hour of study contributes to a job-ready profile, ultimately earning the trust of recruiters and securing your place in the cybersecurity industry. The 90-day Career Safe Roadmap provides a strategic timeline to move from basic curiosity to a state of high employability. By focusing on specific outputs during each 30-day block, you ensure that your time spent learning translates directly into professional assets that recruiters value. The 90-day breakdown days 1 to 30, foundations. The objective of the first month is to master the language of the industry. You will dive into networking, how devices talk, Linux, the backbone of security tools, web basics, and ethics. Output, skill notes. Why? Documenting your foundational knowledge proves you understand the rules of the road before you start driving. Days 31 to 60, defensive labs. During month 2, you transition to hands-on application. You will perform phishing analysis, configure MFA, analyze system logs, and work through OWASP labs to understand common web vulnerabilities. Output, 2 lab reports. Why? Lab reports are the first pieces of evidence for your portfolio. They demonstrate that you can identify a threat and implement a defensive solution. Days 61 to 90, portfolio plus applications. The final month is dedicated to presentation and outreach. You will finalize 3 technical reports, optimize your resume and LinkedIn, and begin applying for internships or entry-level roles. Output, job-ready profile. Why? This phase bridges the gap between being a student and becoming a candidate. It shows you have the communication skills to match your technical ability. The professional outcome. Success is built on evidence. By day 90, you aren't just telling an employer you can do the work, you are showing them the proof. Following this roadmap keeps you in the green flag zone. You avoid the traps of unauthorized hacking and instead build a reputation as a disciplined, ethical, and highly capable security professional.